Hi, this is my pierogi recipe, and I'm not going to be able to be at pierogi day this year, so I thought I'd give you the recipe and make a batch of pierogi for you. The recipe is 5 cups flour, 4 eggs, half pint sour cream, 1 tablespoon water. Oops, forgot the salt. Teaspoon of salt. Make sure you add that. Here's the recipe. Here's what you need to do, and let's get going. I use my bowl, my wooden bowl that I got from my sister many years ago for Christmas. Coat of Pam, and it keeps the dough from sticking so much. Then you measure out 4 cups of all-purpose flour. It doesn't really matter what kind of flour you use. General all-purpose flour, any brand will work. Do not use self-rising flour. I start with 4 cups of flour, and then if I need a 5th cup, I have it. I use that for kneading the dough. Make a little hole in the center of the dough, flour, and that's where I'm going to pour my liquid mixture, which consists of my tablespoon of water, my pint of sour cream, and 4 eggs. Many recipes call for just eggs and water. I think the flour or the sour cream gives it a much nicer consistency. I use large eggs, and I use the yolk, richness, and the elasticity of the dough when you use sour cream. I think it makes a huge difference. We've been making flour. We've got our egg mixture. I just need a little bit of salt. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of salt around. Again, family recipes, unfortunately, probably didn't use near as much measuring as we should have. And you pour the mixture into the flour. And then you begin to stir in the center. And as you see, it kind of incorporates. You can just kind of see the flour incorporating into it. And you just keep doing that little by little until you get all the flour incorporated, which makes, like I said, this is I think the most integral part of the whole recipe. You really have to do this. If you don't, I think it's really hard to get your dough of the nice, smooth, soft, silky texture you want it to be when you get ready to roll out. As you can see, a little bit of flour in at a time. It's a little time consuming, but the dough, oh, so good. And as you can see, this is the part that takes the most time. Once you get it nice, you see it's starting to get doughy. And you just keep adding in the eggs and the flour into the dough. And look, see how it's getting very, very doughy. Once you do that, you can start pushing with your fingers a little bit, get the dough incorporated. And at this point in time, when it's kind of nice and doughy, you really, really need to start using your hands. And I'm a right-handed person, but I want to show this so that the camera on the computer can get it. You just keep kind of pushing the dough down, sliding the flour in. If it starts to feel real wet, you want to be careful because you don't want it to break up. You kind of want it to stay in one nice dough kind of ball, if you will. And I keep tucking the flour underneath the whole time. If you can tell, you can see how you just kind of tuck it in, push it down. It becomes really nice. The consistency is wonderful. Cold. I use cold ingredients. I use cold eggs, cold water, obviously cold sour cream. And not just because you want to make sure that you're healthy and not eating anything that's spoiled or contaminated, but because it works better with the dough. When you're finished,
when it starts to get thicker, you see I'm just kind of folding and pushing down with my fingers. Again, this is something I learned from my mom and my grandma many decades ago. And now I have what looks like a pretty nice piece of dough that I'm going to transfer to my countertop. You can use a board if you want. I like my clean countertop. Formica countertops are great, as are granite. Corian works fine. Nice. It's a little more difficult. I think it's a little harder to do when you are working on these in the summertime because you need a nice cool surface to work on. Again, I want to make sure I get all my flour in there. And remember, I only used 4 cups of flour, so I have extra flour I can add into the dough as I knead it, and it becomes very nice and elastic. I don't want to use too much dough. I want it to be nice and soft and squishy and smooth and elastic. I don't want to use crumbs because, again, I want my dough to be nice and elastic. You knead it just for a little bit. You can see it's getting kind of stretchy. You just knead it, and you can see, if you look at it, you can see there's little pockets of wet dough in there, which is fine. And again, kind of just push it out. Makes a nice dough. Make sure you knead it nice. Fold it in, wrap it. Again, this is the way my grandmother used to do it. Take my flour. I want to get a little flour. I don't want it to be too sticky on my hands. And then my dough is just about ready. Just about the consistency I want it to be. It's nice and smooth. And again, you just keep rolling, tucking it in. Roll it from both sides. So when you're done, you have a very nice bowl of dough. You don't want it, like I said, that top side's a little sticky, so you want to make sure you get a little flour on it. You don't want it to be too sticky. But you don't want to work too much dough in so that it gets hard. Hard dough is not good. Hard dough is not elastic. It doesn't stretch out, and it doesn't knead nicely. Now, the trick too to this is you really need to let it set and rest. Depends on your recipe. I've seen so many different recipes. Nice ball of dough there. Beautiful, beautiful. Set it in there. Set it in there. Now I've got my dough. And you want to let it rest. You want to let it sit nice. Nice ball of dough. Nice round ball of dough. You want to let it rest for at least 30 minutes. If you let it rest, it lets a chance for the gluten in the flour to kind of work. Everything kind of melds together. If you cut it in half or in quarters, you can roll out small sections. If you've got a really big countertop, you can roll it out. The idea is that you want to roll it to about an 1/8 inch thick. You want to cut the circles in 3-inch circles. You can use any kind of a glass that you have at home that has a thin rim. Roll it out to about an 1/8 inch thick on a floured surface. Cut it in 3-inch circles. Fill it with your favorite filling. Put about a tablespoon of filling in each round. Fold it in half moon. Fork it, and then boil them. Put them in a pot of boiling water, salted boiling water. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes for them to boil. You can tell they're finished when they rise to the top. Take them out, put them in a saute pan with some butter and onions that you sauteed till they're translucent, and then serve them, and you will have a hard time keeping up with the people eating them. At least at our house we do. Good Friday. It's our favorite thing to do.